skill. So, first of all, why are you asking me what it's like to be a programmer on Wall Street when I'm not a programmer on Wall Street?
What?
I work on Wall Street. I've been in investment banking for probably 2 decades. But rather than me doing programming, gotta love the YouTube app crashes. Rather than me trying to be a programmer on Wall Street, I hire people who do a much better job than I would, right? Don't really have the skill set that these guys do, right? So I would more so manage development projects, not as a development manager, but as a senior resource who specializes in the business and the technology that are the basis for the product that's being developed, right? So I have a developer that I will, first of all, speak to the clients, figure out what their needs are, strategize with them in terms of how we can integrate their technology with ours, and then I present requirements to the developer who actually does the work, and then I project manage that process, answering any business questions that they have, acting as sort of a liaison between development and the business side. So I work very heavily with developers and development, but I am not the guy who actually does the actual development. Now, with that being said, what I can tell you about being a developer on Wall Street, obviously not from personal experience, but from working in the business. So I know the business, I know how things work, and I work very closely with developers. So I have good relationships with developers, and I have therefore a unique perspective in terms of insight into what it is like being a developer on Wall Street. So first of all, let's talk about the money. Right? Yeah. That's what everybody thinks about. That's what everybody cares about is the money. Show me the money. Tell me about the money. How much money can you make? Well, it depends on your background, depends on what you're going to be working on, a lot of factors. But I will say this, you can make a ton of money as a developer on Wall Street, or you can actually be cheated, and that comes from different avenues. You can be cheated in terms of, the key mission of any business is to maximize profits and to minimize costs, right? So any avenue or strategy that you can employ where you can cut costs and maximize your profit, you're going to do it. So a couple ways to do that, and one of them is outsourcing. So some of these banks will outsource development work to other countries like India, for example, and they'll either have the developers do the work in their country, and I'm pretty sure the money that they're paying those developers is nothing compared to what they're paying domestic developers. So that's one avenue. I've also seen another one. So actually, let's make it 3 avenues, kind of. What they'll do is they'll do a work visa situation where, so they'll go and they'll recruit a developer from another country, and typically it's India. Shout out to my Indian subscribers. I have a lot of Indian subscribers, but they will recruit from India. They'll bring you in on a visa. Now, I hate to be giving you guys horror stories, but and it's not all bad, but I have seen some bad things, and I don't want to use some of the words that come to mind. Look at this. It's cold as hell, and it is windy as hell, and I'm not dressed appropriately because I didn't check the weather. I'm not going to use the words that come to mind when I think about what I've seen, but you use your own words. I'll just describe it to you. I've seen developers brought in from India that I know are not getting paid what they're worth, right? They're coming in based on, opportunity to, be here in the United States and I guess potentially become a citizen or just the opportunity. I'm not from India, so I don't know the culture, I don't know everything, but I presume there's a couple things. They either want to be a citizen here or I don't know what the opportunities are in India. So perhaps it's just, hey, this is a great opportunity. I could work for some big investment bank in New York or something, as opposed to locally. What are the opportunities? I don't know. I don't know much about India. I apologize for that, but I don't, right? So they'll bring them over, and what I've seen happen is I've seen developers being treated very badly. And, I mean, it's kind of like, we it's kind of touchy subject. I want to tread lightly on this, but it's kind of like the impression that I got is almost like, I hate to, as we, it's not me, but it's like we own you, right? You're gonna do whatever we tell you to do. You're gonna take whatever money we give you, right? Otherwise, we'll just send you back. And I guess you can understand the difficulty that I had in even saying that, but I'm just telling you like it is. This is what happens. This is what is being done. I'm not saying every company is doing that. There's good and bad everywhere. You have good companies, bad companies, good environments, bad environments. But all I'm saying is I've seen it happen, and that to me is another cost-cutting measure. It's not right, and it can get much more vicious than that in terms of, I've seen these scenarios where these developers are treated very poorly, not with any sort of respect, and they're sort of powerless. It's like you mess up, you piss off the wrong person, and that's it. They take your visa, right? And I've seen some great guys and great developers, I develop a relationship with them, and I see what they're going through. I mean, I'm not really at that position anyway. That's a while ago. I wasn't really in a position to really do much to help them out, but it's kind of sad. I've even seen situations where they'll get sabotaged, where, if you try and speak out and say something, then they mess you up. So then if you go try to work somewhere else, I've actually seen a scenario where a CEO actually went out and contacted another investment bank to badmouth a developer because of the same kind of scenario, right? So it's like, keep your mouth shut, otherwise you're going home, or we will ruin you. And I hate to use the word we. I'm speaking from a perspective of the people that do these things, and not from my personal perspective. Another person that way. I don't care what country you're coming from. I'm going to treat you with respect, right? But that's me personally. So those are the two avenues. Then the other thing is, lost my chain of thought. The other thing is, there's a lot of money to be made as a developer on Wall Street, and we'll get into why a little bit later on. But another cost-cutting measure is, so we're going to go grab some developers who don't have any investment banking or finance knowledge, right? We're going to get some kids straight out of college or something like that. And again, it's the using, right? So we're going to bring you in, and we're not going to pay you Wall Street money, right? You got developers that are, could be making $160,000 a year, $170,000 a year, $200,000 a year, depends on what their role is. And we're going to bring you in real cheap for many reasons. Part of it could be, hey, you're straight out of college, you don't have any experience, right? Other reason is, you don't know, you are not a Wall Street developer, right? So we're going to pay you the numbers that you are used to, right? We're not going to pay you industry numbers, right? So other developers who are in the industry are making a lot more money than you are. You don't necessarily know that. But what I'm saying is, the behind the scenes is, that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in some out of industry developers and on the cheap, because they're not industry developers, right? We're going to offer lower money, which to them is going to seem like good money. But what they don't realize is their coworkers are making a ton more money than they are. right? So that's what I see. So that's a lot of negative stuff, but I don't want to make it all seem that way. So let me talk about the positive side, right? So based on what I'm saying so far, some of you guys may have a perception that, oh, that's exactly what I thought, man. Ruthless, it sucks, yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. Working on Wall Street is not one way or another. Yes, you can work for a bank that's super uptight, suit and tie. Let me say that again, suit and tie. You can work for a bank that's like that, or you can work for a bank that is completely different from that. So there are environments, there are institutions on Wall Street, investment banking, that are actually adopting from a competitive perspective, they are adopting, I apologize, I got allergies, my nose is about to start running because it's cold out here. They're trying to adopt this new culture thing. It's a new thing that they're trying to do, which is they're trying to mimic Google. So this idea of Google, where you work for Google and you get all this free food and all the little perks and benefits and whatever. So there's a movement on Wall Street right now to adopt that kind of a thing, kind of a campus structure. And so the beauty of it is, if you're smart and if you do your homework, you can find opportunities on Wall Street to work for some really cool companies where you have that kind of a Google atmosphere, that kind of laid back, relaxed. I mean, I personally have worked in such an environment. We had couches and foosball table, and we would go to comedy shows together. We would go to bowling events together, and developers come to work in t-shirts, short pants, right? One guy came with a fedora with a digital timer on it or something weird like that. Another coworker brings her dog to the office, right? So the message is that there is no one Wall Street, right? There is the uptight, brutal, aggressive, cutthroat environment. But if that's not for you, just don't work at those places, right? Wall Street is not one thing, right? It's not just one company. There's many companies with different culture, right? So it's up to you to find the culture that works for you. You want the laid back, cool Google situation? Well, find the investment banks that adopt that culture and go work there, right? Guess what? That's what I do. Not necessarily to the detail of like, a Google culture, but I prioritize the environment over the money. I will take a pay cut over getting a better work environment, working for a better team. I like working for people that are fun to work with. We're a great team, get along, we support each other, we communicate well, right? And bonus, if I get one of those companies that are trying this new Google campus deal, which is awesome. I mean, we would get free lunches. I'm about to get run over. We would get like free lunches and all this kind of good stuff, man. That's bonus. But the main thing for me is that the place that I work for at least adopts that fun, sort of laid back culture. I mean, I'm an extreme sports guy, motorcycle, all that stuff. So I actually like, I guess a little bit of adrenaline junkie, right? So I like the aggressive pace of investment banking. So the actual work I do, the seriousness of it, right? The level of precision required, the pace of it, I enjoy all of that, right?
Yeah, this is all the way.
But that's separate from the atmosphere, the company, the culture, right? You can have a laid-back, cool culture, but in terms of the tasks that I'm working on, right, they're pretty serious. So imagine, for example, what you think about like working for the CIA, right? Obviously, that's a cutthroat in terms of the work they're doing. I mean, you're dealing with people who could kill you, right? But you could have a cool culture in the office, right? In the CIA office, you guys could be, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is not the case, but it could be that way, right? In the office, foosball table, joking around, t-shirt, shorts, you know what I mean? But when you go out in the field, it's business. It's guns, and you might get killed. You might get put in prison in a foreign country, right? So I think that's a good analogy to, the work that I do, where the work itself is very serious and aggressive and can be cutthroat in terms of the work itself, the things that I'm dealing with. Just to give you a perspective, small mistake can cost millions of dollars in seconds. If I make a small mistake, I can cost millions of dollars in seconds, right? That is the nature of the importance of the work that I do, right? And I appreciate that level of seriousness of wow, this is a big deal. Right? I appreciate that. But it's a nice balance to that where my team is cool, right? There's nothing crazy going on. Just a regular day, right? We can be cool. We can hang out. We can be cool, right? We can do serious work. We can be serious when we need to be serious with the serious work we're doing. But on the same token, we can actually have fun, right? So that's the thing. Separation of culture versus work. Even look at being like a doctor, right? I mean, you make a mistake, somebody could die, right? On the same token, you guys could be, when you're not in surgery, of course, you could be clowning around and just doing cool stuff, doing trips or whatever it is, right? So again, two different things: culture versus the work that you're actually doing. Beyond that, what can I tell you about the actual work as a developer? So, one second. So as far as the working in investment banking, obviously there is the level of precision required. I mean, you make a mistake in your code, again, the same level of risk is involved, right? Let's say you make an error in the code where there's a bug where someone enters an order and it's supposed to go out as buy 1,000 shares of IBM, but you have an issue with your price precision or how you're dealing with the numbers, right? So the 1,000 share order goes out as 1 million shares, right? That's a legitimate order that goes out for 1 million shares unintentionally because of a bug in the code. That is massive levels of exposure and risk that can be caused. So the importance of, being accurate in the work that you're doing, the importance of following the procedures, best practices, the SDLC, going and doing your code reviews, right? Following the procedures and how you actually do your code, how you review your code, right? And approve your approval process. Critical things are also like setting up a test harness to actually test the code aggressively to the point that you make sure that everything absolutely works as intended, minimize the potential losses in terms of, not losses, but the potential of a bug. And we certainly have bugs. No one can avoid bugs, right? But I think the way you got to look at it is look at designing a car, right? You guys that are listening, click on the like button. I really appreciate that. Click on the like button. I really appreciate it. I'm standing out here in the cold doing this video. But anyway, so look at designing a car, right? There's tons of cars that have, let's call them bugs. It's like software. Tons of cars out there with bugs, right? But the radio not working, or the door making a weird noise, or the heater not working. These are, let's call them acceptable bugs, right? Then you have a failure in the braking system. Unacceptable bug. unacceptable bug that the brakes fail on a car, right? So you can apply the same principle to working on financial applications. Yes, there's going to be bugs. You can't have a product that doesn't have any bugs, right? However, there's certain critical features that you've got to be sure, right? Code reviews need to be done properly. You need to know what you're doing. You need to understand the code. You need to have, unfortunately, a lot of those meetings and talking about what's being done and the strategies being utilized and what are the safeguards in place to prevent certain potential issues. Like, you really need to be on your game when you're focused on or building certain critical parts of the application. The other components, yeah, you still try to achieve a high level of accuracy in what you're doing, but the main thing is those critical features that have the most risk. And I think that's not even necessarily something that's unique to Wall Street. The risks are certainly greater, but any product, there's going to be certain things that have to work. Like, you gotta have a high level of consistency. I don't know, just something wild, top of my head. Like, imagine you have a program that you guys are sloppy with how you do cleanup, right? That's something silly, but how you do cleanup in terms of like deleting temporary files, right? So then some bug in the code makes your program like delete some system files or something, so you corrupt the Windows installation. I mean, that's a really bad code, right? But it was probably a bad example, but you get the idea. So even an application that doesn't have the levels of seriousness of like Wall Street, even that, there's going to be certain things that have to work, right? We don't mind if the menu doesn't work properly all the time, but deleting the Windows folders, like that can't happen. So that's one thing. The other thing is also, I would say, performance and security are massive, right? So to be a developer and work on financial applications, you need to be really good at your memory management, your speed as well. Just in general, your application needs to be fast, right? In another industry, one could utilize a certain technique, even language, right? Because look at Python, for example. Python, I love Python, but probably not going to be a lot of financial applications that are built fully using Python. Reason being, one of the limitations of this wonderful language that I love, Python, is in its handling of multi-threading, right? That's something that I've been working with regarding the project where I'm trying to build my own trading system. And in my evaluation of the threading abilities of Python, I found that that is one of the weaknesses of Python. So you would need to utilize other languages, like perhaps C# or C+, or I know Java is also a popular language, and I've certainly dealt with a Java-based trading platform. But yeah, you need your applications need to be very efficient and very fast, and consistently so. You can't have any kind of queuing, anything like that. It needs to be fast, reliable, consistent. You click on something, it does it consistently every time, right? So sloppy code where you're doing things inefficiently, taking up a lot of resources and all that kind of mumbo jumbo, and time, right? Getting the high-speed trading, oh my goodness, you better be a whiz. You better be a whiz at your understanding of performance in terms of making your application fast and efficient, simplifying your code, eliminating unnecessary complexity, right? See, there's different levels, right? There's a level of, I'm going to build an application that's going to do basically what it's supposed to do. Be able to enter an order and send it out to someone else. Okay, boom, okay. Now send out 1,000 orders in 3 seconds. And do that consistently. Any time of the day, boom, send it out. Just like that. That's another story. Most programmers can build a trading application to do the basics of trading. But how many can build a trading application that can stand up to the standards of efficiency and speed and consistency and resiliency? Because the system crashing, freezing, going down, there's massive levels of exposure and cost involved. Unlike you build an application that's a data entry application, so you can't enter any new orders. I'm talking like regular, it's some kind of a point of sale or something, right? So the application being used by a retail environment, no one can enter any new orders for 5 minutes. Okay, let's go to Red Lobster, right? Let's go on a lunch break. Who cares? I don't mean that literally, but you have a trading system down for a couple of minutes, and that's a disaster, right? Depending on what the market does in those couple of minutes, that could be a disaster. So it's a little different in terms of the standards. So you know what? To someone who is very much motivated in terms of they want to build the best code, they're very ambitious, right? You really spend a lot of time learning all the best practices. What's a better way to make this application? How can I make this faster? What are some new techniques that are out there? Well, what about this new language? You're watching, you're going to conferences, you're watching videos about different techniques and all this kind of stuff, and just honing your craft. If you're that type of person, then, and I'm not saying that's the only type of person, there's different companies, different projects. Not everybody needs to be on that level, because let's say you're working on something that is not touching something as critical, right? Like maybe you're developing part of the reporting system, right? So I'm focused a lot. I'm a little bit biased. I'm focused a lot on my world, right? In terms of the products that I would be dealing with, which is the critical systems that are really have those high standards that I keep talking about, blah, 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 blah. But not every component on Wall Street, not every application on Wall Street is that type of application, has that type of level of risk. So you can work on Wall Street, you can find a cool company, and you can work on something that is less critical, so you don't have the same level of stress of all the stuff that I mentioned, right? So pick the company, pick the project you work on, right? But the bottom line is unique. I'm really focused on the unique stuff. Unique to Wall Street is dealing with the critical applications that have these high standards, which is a perfect environment for someone who is really ambitious, right? You're really ambitious, and you get in as an intern, right? You can learn so much, you can do so much. I think there's excellent opportunities. If programming was something that I took on initially as like a career, I'm definitely the type of person who would love, again, back to Wall Street. Even from that angle, I would still be on Wall Street probably, because I love that level of, like, again, bum 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 dun 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 dun. Like, I love that, man. Mission Impossible. Yeah, so it's definitely for me. I'm the personality type, the motorcycle guy, extreme sports guy, right? The guy doing all the crazy YouTube videos. Hey guys, today we're gonna talk about how to go. Like, I fit right in. So the question is, do you guys got any questions? It would be nice if you charge your phone for doing a live stream. Anyway, so I forgot where I left off, but basically, like I said, it depends on the project, it depends on the company, a lot of different environments, there's a lot of diversity. The thing that's unique here is that if you like the extreme, the cutting edge, the ambitious, it's available to you. But if you just like finance, but you don't necessarily want all the craziness, that's available too. Just depends on the project and the environment that you so choose, right? You guys have any questions? Other questions about programming, financial applications, working in the industry, internships, whatever it is? Comment below, let me know, and I will help you out as best I can. I did a video before talking about the benefits of boot camps from a perspective of like how we look at that. So when we look at people that are graduates from boot camps, like what do we think about that? What do we think about, being a graduate from a high school? Hey, what's up, Wei J? What do we think about someone who has a computer science degree, fancy school, all that kind of stuff? I mainly talked about the boot camp thing. In the future, I'll probably do a video talking about the computer science thing as well. Do you need a degree? What's the relevance of a degree? What's the relevance of boot camp? What's the relevance of fancy school versus community college? I can certainly answer and address those questions and concerns and let you know how we feel. Because one day, you and I may be sitting in a room, and I may be interviewing you. So I may look at you and see, hey, boot camp, hey, Harvard, MIT. So what will I think? And more importantly, what will our development managers, because I'm not a development manager, right? They're the ones who are really going to be drilling you and really making the decision process, right? They will just consult with me because I will be working a lot with you as well. So they want to get my feedback. But ultimately, it's the development managers that you need to really worry about. But anyway, got any questions? Comment below, let me know. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash the bell. Smash the hell out of that bell, because that's the only way you're gonna get notified. It's so cold I can't even talk. My lips are frozen. That's the only way you're gonna get notified when I upload new videos right here on this channel where learning is as should be, right? Learning should be fun, and learning is fun. Ciao, Viget, salut, hasta luego. This is the Computer Programming University, live in New York City, talking about developing financial applications. What's it like working on Wall Street? Well, I just explained that. Rewind the video and watch the video. I just explained that. Why are you asking me what's it like working on Wall Street? That's the title of the video and the content of the video. You're at the end of the video. Maybe you should go to the beginning of the video and actually see what I have to say about Wall Street and programming. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe. Stay on your grind. Best of luck to everyone, and always strive to be better.